Are you looking to grow revenues, increase profitability, or obtain financing? If so, you came to the right place.
Running a business is all about leadership. How do you become a better leader? Learn from the successful entrepreneurs and business owners how to lead your organization more effectively. That's why we created Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business, to help you succeed with your host, Andrew Frazier, Business Growth Pro and CFO and founder of the Small Business Pro University. Every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're joined by experienced entrepreneurs and business owners who share their secrets to success via live stream. Also, every Friday morning, we release a new podcast episode. Either way, you will learn about developing your business leadership skills from our roster of highly performing guest experts. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbprou.com.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Leadership Live at 8:05 Talking Small Business. I'm your host, Andrew Frazier, and excited to be back talking small business again with you this evening. Each week, I always look forward to talking with a special guest about a key topic that's important to entrepreneurs and business owners like you. As you know, there's so many things you need to know as a business owner to be successful, and it's impossible to know them all. But what we try and do here is give you the tools, expose you to other leaders and entrepreneurs and business owners who can share valuable insights and content and perspectives that can help you be more successful with your business. So that's what we do here at Leadership Live. And this week, like all others, we have a great guest. So this week, our guest is Shaan Rais, and he's a brand consultant and strategist. And he's going to talk about brand you and not what you do. As we discuss every week, or not every week, but your most important job as a business owner is marketing and sales. And branding is an important component of marketing. So, the more that you can know about marketing and sales, the more successful your business is going to be. So that's why we try and bring different perspectives around those. So today's guest, Shaan Rais, he's doing great things in the leadership, in the branding space. He's leading sessions with entrepreneurs and business owners. He's speaking across the country and across the world. And he really just has a great message about branding and how you can brand more effectively for your small business. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring Shaan on, and we're going to chat a little bit. Hey, Shaan, how you doing this evening?
I am absolutely phenomenal. No complaints whatsoever. I did want to clarify one thing. I get this all the time too, so don't worry about it. Everybody says it. But it's Shaan Rais.
Rais.
Yes, I get it all the time. Don't worry about it. They're like the Hispanic thing. They're like race, right? So all the time. It's okay. It's like I'm running a race.
All right. Well, thank you for letting me know, because we want to have those right. When we've talked, I always just called you Shaan. So
I know. But thank you for bringing me on. It's phenomenal being here. I love small businesses. I love to think, and I love to help small business owners shift their perspective and don't look at it as a small business, right? Because Amazon was a small business when it started. And if it stayed a small business in the mind of its owner, Jeff Bezos, it would still be really quantified as a small business. Same thing with Steve Jobs and Apple. So no matter where you are in your business cycle, see yourself as the preeminent, what we call OVO, only viable option.
Okay. No, I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense. Everybody started somewhere. HP started in a garage.
That's right.
One of the key things I focus on is you need to create an enterprise. Too many business owners don't think about creating an enterprise until it's too late. And you have to do that from day one. So it's very important to be able to do that. So definitely we're going to talk about that and some other key things. But before we get started, I know you somewhat, but the audience doesn't really know you. So if you could take a few minutes to just talk a little bit about your journey, how you got to where you are, and what you're doing now, and then we can really dig into the topic once we do that. Sound good?
Okay, no problem at all. I'm just a kid from Harlem who God chose to show his favor and mercy through. Grew up in the late 80s, early 90s in Harlem, New York, the old Harlem. I always have to quantify the old Harlem, not Harlem that you know now. I grew up where it was very rough, and a lot of people that share my demographic age and grew up in that location are either dead or in jail for life. It's just a harsh reality. And in that sector, without having the right peers, mentors, coaches, that was something unknown to us. I made most of the wrong decisions and fell into the dichotomy of systemic bad decision making, suffered those consequences. And then somewhere around the age of late 20s, early 30s, I met a woman. Woman saved my life. I got real lucky. I ran into the love of my life, now my wife. And I realized that the life that I was born in didn't have to be the life that I was sworn in. So I changed directions. I realized that I was really good at running against the wall, running into a brick wall or hitting the glass ceiling all of the time. So I finally decided to surrender, kind of submit and get out of the driver's seat and sit in the passenger seat and let something bigger than me take the wheel. And ever since then, it's been almost like I was watching a movie that whole time. It's really been fast success, phenomenal success, unbelievable success. I've got 2 master's degrees. One is in industrial and organizational psychology, another one in organizational development and change. I've written 2 books. We launched furiously during the pandemic, and swiftly we created a critical amount of about 450K in less than 90 days. And then almost $1 million in less than 2 years organically on Facebook. In less than 3 years now, we've almost amassed 2 million, and it's still organic. So no funnels, no ads, no formal campaigns. We started without an email list, all through the power of personal branding. So for those of you who say, oh, I don't have the marketing budget, I don't have the $1 million, I can't compete, I don't know funnel making and campaigns, you don't need any of that. All you need to do is speak in your true, authentic voice and be yourself. That's what we teach: authentic marketing and personal branding.
Excellent. So that's really impressive, Shaan. Really being able to do that, against the grain from what a lot of people are seeing out in the marketplace. But at the end of the day, business is business. And, the first thing I always say is you gotta have a product or service that someone is willing to buy for more than it costs you to deliver it. So if you start there, everything else is just a derivative of that, or being able to make that happen. So there's a lot of ways to do it, and some are easier and better than others, but it depends on your business and your situation. But I think that what you've learned can be very valuable in helping people achieve their goals faster, easier, and better. Would you agree?
I would. I definitely would. I would also state that for us, we went a different route. I didn't have a product per se. What I had was value, right? So I had value, and I also had a natural bent towards inquisitiveness. So I'm very curious when it comes to the human situation, given my background and educational background. So I ask a lot of questions. And from the questions that I ask, I glean the information that informs my assumption or hypothesis. which enables me to create a product that is actually viable for the marketplace. So I do it a little bit differently. I have an idea, and then I market the idea, and I actually sell the product before I create it. So I recreated the 450K before we actually launched or went into the creation of what is now branded like a leader, the flagship course.
Okay, excellent. So definitely figuring out what the market wants and needs is, at the end of the day, the key to being successful. And if the sooner and the least expensively you can do it, the better. And I think you've circumvented a lot of the challenge that many business owners run into. So, so definitely, that's excellent. So, I look forward to really chatting with you this evening. But what we're going to do is take a quick break. The show is brought to you through the Small Business Pro University. So it's important for people to know what the Small Business Pro University is. So we're just going to take a quick minute to learn a little bit about that. And then I'll be back with Shaan talking small business.
Let's grow.
Do you own your business, or does it own you? Is your business growing, and are you making enough money? As a business owner, there are so many things you need to know to become more successful. Hello, my name is Andrew Frazier, the Business Growth Pro and CFO. I created the Small Business Pro University for you. Small Business Pro University has self-paced, dynamic, multimedia learning experiences created by more than 20 instructors who are business owners just like you. Small Business Pro University will empower you to become a masterpreneur by learning the secrets to creating a successful enterprise, to go from working in your business to working on your business. Take advantage of our strategic coaching program, or just simply choose the courses that you need at www.sbprou.com. We will empower you to thrive and not just survive, and make more money in any business environment. Welcome back to Leadership Live at 8:05. I'm here with Shaan, and we're going to be talking about branding and really his strategies around that. That he's achieved a lot of success for him, but not just for him, for his clients and others as well. Before we get into that, you mentioned a key word, which was creating value. So, I talked to a lot of business owners even today, and it's important to define things because people have their own idea of what things mean. But what does value mean to you when you're using it? And what should people know about value?
I love the question. So for me, it's not really about me first, right? It's not about me. And you as a business owner, it's not about you. So I want you to kind of try to move away from your own definitions and get into the mind of the market. Get into the mind of the consumer that you're trying to be of value to, and find out what they find valuable. Because it really doesn't matter what you find valuable or how you define value, unless you're going to buy your own services and your own products, right? Because I guarantee you this, your definition of value and your ideal client's definition of value many times are not the same. And this is why people go on and go out of business, because their definition of value, which they market from, which they create products for, doesn't align with the market that they're selling to. So the best way to find out what value truly means is to forget about your definition and ask your market. Do market research, do surveys, do qualitative and quantitative interviews, do the research and find out, get into the weeds, get into the marketplace and find out what your customer finds as valuable, and then create your products and services around their definition.
Okay. All right. So basically the market defines
all day,
and being customer centric
all day. We absolutely must be.
Right. And, a key piece of that is which customers, and figuring out who your target market is, who's most likely to buy from you. So how do you do that? how do you help people to do that? And
I
what's
love that question. What I say, Andrew, is to define your ideal life first. First, how do you want to live? How much money do you want to make? What customer pool do you want to serve? What is your best and most phenomenal life look like? And then create the business model around that that's going to support it. So the business model includes whether you're going to have products or IP. It also determines who you're going to have around you, right? So you choose your ideal client and then you get into their mind and you get into their world and you find out how they define value. And then you create, again, your products and services around that. But it starts with kind of like the end in mind and then reverse engineering it.
all right? Okay, I like that. I studied engineering undergrad, so
Very good.
definitely very systematically and look at sort of what the overall goal and objective is. So,
Sure.
definitely can clap to that and really.
Let me add this to that, if you don't mind. It's kind of shaking off the shackles of employeeship, right? Entrepreneurship and business ownership is not the same thing, but a lot of people enter entrepreneurship and business ownership from an employeeship mentality. So they kind of do the same thing, and they don't create a freedom giving lifestyle business. Instead, they have a high paying job if it's really high paying, right? It's definitely high stress, that's for sure. And it's
Mhm.
highly volatile. Many times they create a structure that doesn't serve them. They create a structure that they serve. They create a situation where the walls are against them. They find themselves in the seat more often than if they had a job, with less vacation time than if they had a job, more stress than if they had a job. And what happens is they don't create the kind of life that they want through business ownership. And that's why they don't understand. Or other people look at it and say, what's the difference? I don't understand. And the difference is there is no difference unless you create the difference from the very beginning.
Okay, but in having your own business, you have the flexibility to be able to create that difference
Yes. Yes.
based on your level of creativity and being proactive in the marketplace.
Very
Um,
important. One of the things that we don't utilize as much as we could or should or would if we knew more about it would be design thinking.
mm, okay. Yep. So, and one of the things that so many business owners don't do, but should do, and know they should do, is do a good business plan. And what are your thoughts on that? And what do you think needs to be in a business plan?
Well, I created a business plan, but I honestly believe that you can't plan far ahead. In this volatile economy situation, I mean, if you would have created a business plan in 2019, then in 2020, everything would have changed. And everything did change for a lot of people, right? So when it comes to your business plan, you should have a almost a quarter to quarter, or I would not go out further than 2 years and really do that precariously and conservatively and mindful of the market. And the main thing in this business right now is being able to pivot on a dime, being innovative and disruptive, being able to try new things, being risk tolerant, and not being tied to what's inside of a business plan.
Okay, so I see where you're coming from. Um, when I look at business planning, um, I have a little different perspective. Um, but really, at the end of the day, I don't think you have to follow the plan,
Good.
but you have to do the plan because
Okay.
it makes you a lot smarter about your business. It allows you to set goals. It allows you to figure out if you need to pivot. Because if
Okay.
you don't have a goal that you're working towards, how do you know if you're not in line to achieve it and that you need to pivot? So, I think it's more for making you a better business person and giving you the information to make better decisions. And the other side you probably see is, communications is key, especially if you're building an organization or enterprise. And if you don't have things written down, then your team needs to be aligned. And they can't really be very well aligned if you don't have a plan that you all are following.
I understand completely. And I agree with that. We have a living document, so a
Yeah.
living business plan, a live plan that changes as there needs to be changes implemented. So we're
Correct.
not bound to it, we're not rigid. I honestly and arduously promote free thinking and creative critical thinking within my organization. So
Mhm.
I urge my people to make mistakes. I urge my people to be in a discovery space. And I urge my people to think creatively and disruptively and try new things.
Okay. All right. So definitely. So now, what you're talking about is really creating an important culture
That's right.
within your organization. And, that's one of your most important jobs as a leader, but it's one of the most challenging things for a lot of business owners to really understand what it is and how to do that. So, how did you figure out you needed to do those things? And then how did you make people do them? Because, a lot of people want those things, but don't implement them successfully. So what are some tips or insights that you can provide from your experience doing it?
There's a phenomenal book that says that called is I think it was the name of it is a CEO is responsible for three things, or a CEO only does three things, and it's culture, people, and revenue. Well, I related to culture, people, and revenue, and CPR, right? I think he may have named it differently, but it's basically culture, people, and revenue, and that's what you need to be aligned with when it comes to culture. It's a lifestyle, it's a way of life, it's people, places, and it's people who align under in one place with customs, practices. Like in a living ecology culture, it would be dietary practices, rituals, language, religion, dietary practices, habits, things like holidays and things of that nature. So it's actually a smaller ecosystem within a larger one, right? So within the leadership leverage, we have our own language. Within Omni Solutions Consulting, we have our own days that are special. We have our own curriculums, and we create these things that don't mean anything to anyone else. It's like Netflix. It's like a different world. If you go inside of Google for any amount of time, you'll come out of there warped, because it'll seem like you've been off of the planet for a little while, right? So that's the kind of situation that I like to create. I studied culture under Jack Welch at the Leadership Management Institute. He has a school. It was actually the Jack Welch Management Institute where he taught HR leadership in Strayer University. So I've studied there. I've also studied in Walden University. I've also studied in Fielding Graduate University. So when it comes to organizational dynamics and organizational leadership and the structure of and the interplay of people, roles, teams, leadership, and things of that nature, it's a must have. Culture is everything. If you don't have the culture, it doesn't make a difference who you hire or what you try to sell. It will not be sustainable. It'll be flash and grab. It'll always be changing. And instead of being responsible, you'll be reacting and reactionary to the environment, as opposed to having your own curriculum, structure, culture, ways of knowing and ways of understanding, ways of relating. This is what gives you a kind of insulated world that protects you from the elements of the outside world. So we have such a culture here that when what took place during COVID took place externally, internally, we were stronger because of it. And we were able to respond intuitively and innovatively. And literally, we began to go live on Facebook, which no one was doing. And when a lot of leaders sat down, we actually stood up, and we were able to create the kind of movement that created an external culture that began with our internal corporate culture.
Okay. Excellent. So it wasn't like a real simple thing that just sort of happened.
It was pretty organic. It wasn't the with the happening of it and the beginning of it and the externalizing of it wasn't something pre-planned. It was in response to a need. It was literally, Andrew, in response to a need. When COVID happened, I saw people freeze and not move and get scared and get terrified. I'm the kind of leader that sits in the first class, right?
Mhm.
Not because I want to be seen as expensive or luxury. Those are nice things, right? We all like nice things. But the reason why I do it primarily is because if something goes wrong, I want to be next to the cabin. I
Okay.
want to be in the back. Because if I'm needed to help, then let me try to help this thing stay up as opposed to being next to the doors just in case. So I can open the flaps before we crash. If I can help at all to prevent the worst case scenario, that's where I want to be positioned. So it's
Right.
about your positioning. So during COVID, I chose to position myself in a situation where as I'm helping people saying that, hey, tomorrow's not promised and we don't really know what's going on right now. However, if tomorrow is a real thing, if we do wake up tomorrow, we'll be judged by how we respond to it today. So that was kind of the leadership that I expressed. That was the kind of brand that I embodied. And everything after that flowed from that.
Okay. True. So yeah, but you influenced the culture and you led the culture, um, which is key because if you're not doing that, then the culture is developed by your people. And every single person who comes into your organization inherently changes the culture unless your culture is strong enough and entrenched enough.
I
Um,
agree.
so definitely that's not easy to do, especially as a small business owner. Um, and when you talk about culture, you talked about a whole bunch of things, but it sort of breaks down to just how we do things here. This is how we do things in our organization. And you have a clearer picture, and everybody in your organization has a clear picture. But most organizations, that's not true because the owner may not be thinking that's part of their job, or whatever else. So yeah, culture's key. You talked about people, you talked about revenues. So we're getting a little off topic. So let's move it over towards revenues, because branding drives revenues. So before we go into that, I want you to define branding because not everybody knows what that means. And I want to make sure people are understanding it from the perspective that you're going to be sharing it.
Okay, a brand is an experience. It's a feeling. It's how people talk about you when you leave the room and how people feel once your name is announced before you enter, right? The brand is the energy, the feeling that a person gets when they see it, when they experience it. What kind of feeling do you leave people with after they've touched you and came across your brand? And how do they feel before coming into your embrace, the embrace of your brand? Is your brand embracing or is it effacing, right? How does it make people think, react? Does it bring them calm or does it make them anxious? Does it give them inspiration or does it make them feel down and bewildered and a little bit depressed? There's some brands that are so energetic, they're off putting, almost condescending. And then there's other brands that lift people up and are inspirational, motivational. So you really get to design the energy and the experience that people have when coming in contact with your services or your products. Again, your services or your products are just an extension of the brand. The brand, not the thing, is the thing that sells the thing. The brand is what makes people pitch tense weeks in advance. before the new iPhone comes out. That's a brand.
Okay. So yeah, so definitely, um, you know, definitely branding's important. Um, you know, what I found, and you probably found also, is many times as a smaller business, you may need to do the opposite of what a larger business may need to do to be successful in marketing.
Very true.
And, you know, on the branding front, I think that's really coming back to your message in that, you know, when people buy from you, there's like three key reasons. You know, they know you, like you, and trust you.
Mm.
And it's harder to know, like, and trust a company than to know, like, and trust a person. Um, but the big companies, they're a company, so you're not going to know, really experience and know the people. But in a smaller company, that's a way you can have an advantage. Um, so, you know, from your perspective, you know, you're talking about, you know, personal branding. Um, Talk a little bit about why that's important and how you should look at branding from the perspective of your business and yourself.
Well, there was something you said about culture and the culture being the vision almost. You almost said the word vision. I think you said picture or image, but I want to talk about vision, and then I want to talk about values, morals, and principles, or more the way we put it is MVPs, right? The morals, values, and principles of the leader. That creates the culture extrinsically, your morals, values, and principles, and your vision is the vision of the leader. Is the job of the leader to create the culture, and the way that we teach it is personal branding, meaning not a brand, the logo or the colors, those are parts of it, but it comes from the energy and the experience that the leader in creating the business, creating the idea, wants the people that he serves to have when they come into contact with his brand. So I'll give you an example. We all know Mercedes, we all know BMW, and we may love those. We may be infatuated with those brands. Another one is Jaguar, Lexus, right? We love those cars. They're phenomenal cars. They're vehicles. They're luxury. They feel good. They're expensive. But who's the CEO? Who's the CEO? We don't know them. We don't know who they are. And they spend multiple millions of dollars, probably hundreds of $1,000,000, definitely annually, to promote or market those Mercedes Benzes and those BMWs that we all love. Why do they have to do that? Why doesn't Tesla have to do that? Tesla doesn't have a marketing budget. You don't see the commercials for Tesla. You don't see the placards outside while you're driving down the highway. They don't need to do that. Why? They have a personal brand driving the marketing, and Elon Musk. Same thing with Jeff Bezos and Amazon. Barnes and Nobles was a phenomenal bookstore. It did what it did, but they didn't have the thing that sells the thing. They were just the thing. Enter Jeff Bezos. He's a little quirky. He has a personality. He's from Wall Street. He has a story. He has an origin brand story. How he left his job and how he had a dream. And he woke up one night and he thought about a dream and he spoke to someone and someone advised him against it. And he went against the grain and did it anyway. That's what made Amazon Amazon. It was the story and it was the persona. Look at Steve Jobs and Apple. They fired him and then brought him back because his vision was too strong. They couldn't do it without him. He was a little quirky, off-putting, but they had to bring him back. It's the story. It's the story. The story is the glue. Look at Virgin and Richard Branson and his whole mentality and the way he's teaching and the things that he's bringing to the aeronautic industry and all of the different industries that Virgin touches. It's not the thing. It's the thing that sells the thing, or it's the person. And then I would go even farther to say it's the personal brand.
Okay, so the personal brand. So now, when you talked about the culture, and even when it comes to branding, you can't create your culture. You can't say the culture is going to be this or my brand's going to be this.
I love that.
Why is that? Can't you just come out and say this is going to be our brand? What is the reason why you can't do that?
Because it's market determined. Again, like I said, you get the people's information and you glean the experience and you do what we call market research, right? And we do market research in a couple of different ways. I do it mixed methods, so qualitative, quantitative. I take the qualitative, which is the feelings, the emotions, what was the experience, add that up with what was the numbers, how did the numbers increase, how many people came in, how many people opted in, how many people read the whole thing. So you take the numbers, the analytical data with the qualitative data, and that's called mixed methods research. And from that mixed methods, you have a different thing. And just like you said, Andrew, when people come in, it's a different person every time. And these different people bring in a different energy and it adds to the conglomerate. And the culture is created as a byproduct of the vision and the rules, right? So as a leader, you have to have parameters. We call them benchmarks. When you spoke about the business planning and the benchmarks, the goals and the objectives, every leader has to have rules and boundaries and places that he won't go, places that the culture of the brand won't mesh, and places where it doesn't mesh. So for instance, I've done a lot of speaking engagements, but there are some things where a person says, hey, come over here, Shaan, we'll pay you this amount. We want you to speak about this. And that one thing that they might ask me to speak about doesn't mesh with my brand. And that's where I say no. So that's how the culture is not really yours. It's more informed. And I'll give you one more example. One of our main penchants is changing the face of leadership. And what do I mean by that? Changing the face of leadership to give people an alternative. So when I was in my undergrad and I was looking at industrial and organizational psychology as a possibility, I looked at the benchmarks, the objectives, the electives, the classes, and they were leadership and team leadership and CEO coaching and training for teams and organizations and high performance. Those were a lot of words that I didn't hear growing up on 145th Street, right? So I think referentially, and I think we all do. So I tried to look for the references. Who that I know or that I can say I know or who was close to me can I point to and say there's someone who I can model or someone who's done what I'm looking to do? And I couldn't find them. And because I couldn't find them, I thought of my children. I had 5 at the time. And I said, well, if I can't think of a leader that looks like me, comes from a disparate background, made a couple mistakes, and actually is organizationally inclined, executive and coaching and all this good stuff that I'm reading about, then they can't either. At that point, it wasn't an option for me. It was an obligation to become the leader that they could see, right? So you want to think of culture and how to create the culture and align with the personality and the brand. Now, this is the point that I'm coming to. When I came out of organizational and into entrepreneurial, my vision was helping Black men to see themselves in a position of leadership. However, when I launched it, the women came in droves. So my original vision of helping the Black men to change the face of leadership turned into one of just changing the face of leadership and us actually being a culture and an organization that's almost 79% female. That wasn't the origin. That wasn't the original vision. However, that's the impact of the market. The market determines the culture that the leader allows.
Okay. All right. No, that you covered a whole bunch of stuff.
An example of what we're talking about here and how it's really impacted by the market, and the market makes the decision.
Okay. No, that's key. And one of the things about you mentioned about culture is it's what they say about you when you're not in the room. So you can't create the culture, you can just influence the culture.
There you go.
And same thing with your brand. You can't create your brand. You can influence it. You can do things to try and get it to be what you want it to be, but you can't make it that. The marketplace has to make it that. So there's different tools, different skills, different ways to do that. What kind of things do you have in your toolbox, and do you use to really drive and create the brand and culture that you want to have for your organization?
I'm so glad that you asked. So for us, it's always going to be high level skills. One thing that we pride ourselves on is being evidence based. So, again, the industrial and organizational psychology, the organizational development and change. I'm in 2 doctorates right now, a PhD for organizational development and change, and an EdD in leadership for change. However, all of our emphasis areas have been evidence based coaching. Right. So we have a culture of coaching. We have a culture of consulting. We have a culture of leadership. And these all derive from the things that we do, like how you said, how you do, or what you do and how you do it. What we do is we help leaders become brands. And how we do it is through high level competencies such as branding, coaching, speaking, consulting, closing, because you can't help someone if you can't sell them, and then marketing, and as well as course creation. So we have a certain culture. A person enters, they might enter a course like branded like a leader, come into any one of the other courses that we have: marketing, speaking, closings, whatever the course may be, and then they come into the higher level pool of coaching, the community, where we all just come together. So we do influence the brand, and the way that we do it is through those high level competencies.
Okay. All right. No, definitely, you know, um, key things. Now, one of the key things that I've found with both culture and brand is it requires alignment, because if everything's not aligned, then you're sending mixed messages and it can get confusing. So, how do you manage and maintain alignment with your branding and with your organization?
I'm glad that you asked that question. It's all through authenticity. So I teach authenticity marketing. It's not really hard to be authentic unless you're uncomfortable in your skin. I'm from Harlem. I've always been comfortable in my skin, and I've always been genuine when it comes to saying what's on my mind. And sometimes I get a bad rap for that, right? But it's still a good rap because it's true. So a person may not like it, and that's fine, but you will respect it because that's my perception. And you'll never have to worry about me saying something that isn't true to your face. So you'll never have to worry about, did he say it or was he sending mixed messages? I never do that. And I don't teach that. I teach congruency. I teach alignment. I teach being comfortable in your skin and being authentic and true to yourself. And in marketing, we call that a push-pull technique, right? So if I'm on stage speaking, I actually do a little kata, and I say it's pulling your ideal client to you, and it's pushing your unideal client away in one fell swoop. And you do this smoothly and dexterously, and you do this through your marketing as well. So it's not just what you say, or it's also what you put in print that does the same thing. It makes you magnetic. It makes you magnetic in your marketing, and you don't have many calls that are unaligned. We don't get calls from people that want to do business with us under false pretenses. We don't get people who think, oh, I thought this was something different, or I don't know why I got on a call. Everyone who gets on a call with us wants to do business with us. The only question is the number right? We don't have the wasting of time with people who don't know what they want to do, aren't really sure who we are. We don't have those kind of discovery calls because our messaging is so clear. And that comes from what you were talking about when you say alignment. Our words, our videos, our messages, our memes, our copy, our brand presence, the pictures that we take, everything says one thing.
So I have to give it to you because that was a really smooth answer, especially when you push.
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, pushing.
So,
Yeah.
but you said it so nicely.
We call it
So,
the woosah. It's the
woosah,
woosah. Yeah.
woosah. So I'm gonna just break it down for the third graders
Okay.
level. So basically, you know, you're sort of discriminating. And that's not a bad word. It's just what marketing is, to get to the right people and to say the right message to the right people in the branding.
I don't know if I'd use that word.
Okay.
Well, I would use targeting.
Targeting. Okay. Yeah. Which is the same thing, but sounds nicer. And and then, when you're thinking of your culture, you're bringing in people, but your culture attracts the people you want to have working for
There you go.
but it repels the people you don't want working for you. So as a result, your organization runs better, and you're more efficient on bringing clients, and you're working with clients doing what you do best and most profitably. And that's a recipe for success 7 days a week and 2 times on Sunday.
Yes.
So definitely, it's impressive what you're doing. And I don't want to, I want to just make sure people can appreciate some of the nuances, because
Thank you
there's a lot of nuances, and there's a lot of key things that go into it. But at the end of the day, you gotta understand what you're trying to do, and you learn a lot through the process. So what are some of the key learnings that you've had in bringing your organization to where it is in terms of the culture and your brand to where it is, and getting in line? And what sort of things did you maybe get wrong and had to correct and adjust?
Wow, I like that question. Clarity is the most important thing possible. Clarity. You can have the right ladder, but if you're going up the wrong wall, it won't make a difference. You have to have clarity. And I mean, when I say clarity, I mean crystal clarity. So one of the things that I got wrong in the beginning, way before COVID, was my branding and who I was speaking to. So that's another thing you have to make a decision for. So clarity and a decision. We call it now, we've made it a framework, right? So the 5W framework is what I call it. And who you are first, who you are, and then who you serve. Because if you don't know who you are, you can't sell confusion. If you're confused, you lose. So you have to have clarity on who you are. Then you have to have clarity on who it is that you serve. Because if you can't make music for a 7-year-old and a 70-year-old at the same time, it won't work, right? And that's a phenomenal euphemism, or an example that I got from one of my many mentors on this journey. You can't make music for a 7-year-old and a 70-year-old at the same time. So who you are, who you do what you do for, where you do it. But let me go back. What you do. So you got to make sure that you're in alignment, like you said, with what you do. So many people want to speak because they see people making a killing speaking, but realistically, they don't have the chops. They're not built for that. They're more personality-wise suited to be a coach as opposed to a speaker. But they watch motivational videos and they say, I can do that, and they can't do that, and they waste time and money trying to fit their square into a circle. It's not saying there's anything wrong with them. It's just getting back to the alignment piece and the who you are. We actually have a tool for that called the Leadership Chess Test that tells you your personality and where you should be within the professional services piece. Everybody wants to do everything, and you can't. You got to choose something. So who you are, who you serve, what you do, then where you do it. So a lot of people are trying to go B2B on Instagram, big business to big business, and big business is not where millennials are like that. So you understand they want to go to LinkedIn instead of trying to do stocks and trades, unless it's Forex or something like that on IG. They just don't understand the lay of the land. They don't understand social media, what we call business media. They don't understand it. So they're trying to do a little bit of everything, a little bit of everywhere, and it never resonates. They don't do one thing long enough for it to stick. They don't get sticky in the marketplace. They stay kind of watered down and translucent. And for everybody, this is something I want you to understand. If you're for everybody, you're for nobody. If you're for everybody, you're for nobody. And instead of trying to be everywhere and spread yourself thin, you want to choose one place and make a mark. We made all of our initial imprints on Facebook and crushed it because we went deep. We didn't go wide. We went deep there. So who you are, who you serve, what you actually do, what you really do, where you do it, and then when. When in your ideal client's life do you do it? Very important. So when we say my ideal client is a woman by the name of Ira, she's a HR leader. She's at the age of 63 or she's at the age of 45 to 60, and she's thinking about retiring. And she's thinking about what she's going to do. She's always served. She's always helped people. So this is how we're going to supplant the fact that she's about to leave the organization by providing this service and teaching her how to continue being of service and provide contribution and growth for other people, because that's what she needs. And we know that. So we speak to her a specific time. If you're trying to, let me give it to you this way. If you sell retirement plans and you're speaking to 20-year-olds, you're out of timing. You got the right product and you might have the right person, but you're speaking to them at the wrong time. So when is very important. Who you are, who you serve, what you do, where you do it, when you do it. And then for God's sakes, man, why? Why do you do what you do? You have to know that. And I'm going to give you the most powerful part of that I learned in helping other people. When you turn your why into a who, it's game over. Because if you're trying to get a Lexus, if you're trying to get a big house, if you're trying to make $1 million, that'll drive you. That'll give you a plan, business plan. That'll give you an agenda until life really cracks you one. And then it'll buckle you and you'll turn away. And it'll buckle you unless your why is a who. When your why has a name and they have a face. Listen, there are emergency first responders and people in the military that keep their why in the form of a picture in the top of their hat. So when things get hard and they start hearing the gunfire or that heat from the fire starts flickering and they can almost feel it and taste it, that metal taste of fear in the back of their throat, they can take off the hat and look at the picture of the why or the who that they do it for, put that hat back on, it's business as usual.
Excellent. So, very impressive. Definitely got some comments. I'm excited. Roz, the expert maker, is on, and she's likes what you're saying. And
I hope so. Thank you so much. Greatly appreciate that.
And then we've also got Curtis Brown out of Pittsburgh, who runs a digital marketing firm that works with organizations in terms of digital marketing. And then we've got comments from others as well. But, this has been a great conversation. I mean, I can't, I can believe it, but it's, an hour's pretty much up. So every week it just surprises me how fast it goes. But that's just because, I'm talking with great people who are very knowledgeable, just like yourself. So
thank you. You know what I say? I don't want to take credit at all, because the quality of the answer is dictated by the quality of the question. So if anybody heard anything that sounded good at all, it came from the quality of the question. And that was all you're doing. So thank you very much for that.
Okay. No, thank you. And it's a pleasure. But before you go, what I always ask every guest to do is think about, we talked about a whole bunch of things, but, we don't want people to leave saying we heard a whole bunch of things and not do anything.
Oh, yeah.
So I want you to think of the 3 most important things people should take away from our conversation this evening and so that they can start doing them tomorrow. Because, if you don't take any action, then what good is it? So I'm going to give you a minute to think about that, but we'll do a quick commercial. For those of you who are familiar with the Power Breakfast, we've been doing these events for 10 years now. And, we've expanded into a Power Breakfast and conference for entrepreneurs and business owners. And, over those 10 years, we've had a lot of success and had an opportunity to help a lot of people. So, over the last 10 years, these are some of the things that we've been able to do. And we recently had our last one here in Newark at the end of July. And our next one's going to be the end of August, early November. So we'll get you the final date for your calendar, but definitely something you don't want to miss. So if you can join us live, we also will be live streaming it. But for those of you who haven't experienced it, here's a quick overview. If you are looking to increase revenues, improve profitability, and or obtain financing for your business, you need to check out the Power Breakfast and Small Business Pro conferences. My name is Andrew Frazier. One of the things we're here to do is supercharge your day.
Today's Power Breakfast has really been a phenomenal experience. I think it's exactly what business owners need, some true guidance of people who are genuine and really are leading them in the true direction of business growth and expansion.
The Power Breakfast is so important for the entrepreneurial community because it gives the various business people who come together an opportunity to interact and also do some business.
These events, hosted by Andrew Frazier, President and COO of Small Business Like a Pro, will supercharge your day.
Welcome back to Leadership Live at 8:05. I'm here with Shaan Rais. Is that
Rais? Yeah, Rais. We're on you. You'll get it.
And we've had a great conversation about some very valuable things for entrepreneurs and business owners. So we're going to wrap things up with Shaan sharing 3 things that you should take away from our conversation this evening. And you should be able to put them to work tomorrow for yourself and your organization to help you be more successful even faster. So what do you got, Shaan?
Well, brand you and not what you do. People want to do business with a person. They want to know your story, why you do what you do, where you come from, where you came from, what helped you make the decision. Your product should be the bridge to help people get from where they are to where they want to go. Your service should be the bridge to help people get from where they currently are to where they want to go. And your story is the example. You are the true proof and validity and credibility, reliability of your services, efficiency, and effectiveness. That's number 1. Number 2, the 5W framework that I gave you. Who are you? Who do you serve? What do you really do? What are you phenomenally gifted at? Where do you do it? Pick a place and set your flag. Don't try to be everywhere at once. Don't try to be for everybody at once, because you will not be able to do it. You'll run yourself amok. It's like trying to catch 11 chickens in one room. And then when do you do it in your ideal client's life? What is that age gap? What is that time gap? What is the experience? What is the critical need that you meet? And then again, for God's sakes, why do you do what you do? That gives you clarity, which is more important than anything at all. Authenticity marketing, be real, be genuine. Don't be afraid to be yourself. You're going to offend some people if you stand for anyone. Someone else is going to be offended. It's okay. Don't take it personal. It's not about you. It doesn't make you wrong or right. It makes you for a specific person, which is what you want to be defined. You want to be definitive and determined and help them to make a decision through your exercise of discipline and authenticity. All of those summed up, you're either MIA or IMA. You're either missing in action or taking immediate, massive action.
Amen. That was excellent. So, brand yourself, not what you do. The 5 W's, key questions that you need to answer so that you're focused on the market. And then authenticity, being yourself.
That's it.
Not being worried about what others think, be in your zone of genius. And outstanding stuff. These are things that all of us can take into account and actually start doing or continue to do them and focus more energy and effort on them. So thank you so much, Shaan, for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Honestly, enjoyed having you.
I really appreciate that.
So, and great conversation. I love what you're doing. Can't wait to see where you take things from here and how many people that you're going to be helping. So,
yes, sir. Let me ask you a question. When is that Power Breakfast? Is that Newark?
That's going to be in Newark. Yeah.
Okay. I'm very familiar. Very familiar. And when is it again?
It's either going to be October 28th or November 11th. I match them around the keynote speaker. So
very good. Very good. Sounds good.
I will let you know as soon as we're confirmed, but it will be one of those 2 days. So
sounds great.
I'd love to have you as a guest. So
yes, definitely. I'll definitely make sure that it works into my schedule one way or the other.
Okay, excellent. So hang on for a minute. I'm just going to close things out, and then we'll go from there.
Yes, sir.
All right. So definitely, it's been another great episode of Leadership Live at 8:05. Shaan's been a great guest and shared some valuable stuff, and really looking forward to continuing to do great things, and just really each week try and bring some valuable resources and knowledge to the table. Always appreciate everybody's comments and feedback, any questions you have, because we're doing this for you. So however we can make it better for you, we appreciate that input. So next week, looking forward to our guest next week. We're going to be talking with Michelle Calloway, and she's going to be talking about disruptive marketing to get you noticed. There's so much to know about marketing and sales that learning some of what she's done will be valuable as well. So looking forward to having you join us next week as well. And really at the end of the day, the more you know, the faster your business will grow.
Thank you for listening to Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbpro.u.com.